Hello, everyone, and welcome to A More Perfect Podcast. I am your host, Mike Winson. Today, it's time to talk about the kids because it is August, which means everyone is going back to school. So I decided it was time to go through my list of people that I know, and I have this friend from TikTok who is a teacher. Her name is Lindsay. She goes by Miss Mayday on TikTok, and I thought it would be good if we spend some time talking about, because, this administration has made the education of our kids a very important aspect and of what they're trying to do. And I think it'd be wise if we talk about the real life ramifications of what they're going to do, as well as, how you are doing things a little different, and how just your experiences in general in the classroom. So, Lindsay, thanks for being here. It's great
Thanks
to
for
have
having
you.
me.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. And talk about something that I'm super passionate about.
So how long have you been a teacher for?
This will be year 13. I graduated college in 2006. I taught, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for 9 years. So there was a long period between year 4 and year now that I was at home, but I went back about 4 years ago.
Okay. So we'll get into a bunch of different areas, but some of the obvious things. So you're in North Carolina, which is where I am as well. Obviously, we are all happy that our Attorney General, Jeff Jackson, was able, along with multiple other attorney generals, was able to get the $9 billion for the schools this year. Was there already conversations going on with teachers and administration about changes that would have happened if that didn't go through? And the reason I ask is there's a very good chance that next year they won't even budget that. And I think it's good that people kind of understand what might happen if this money doesn't go through.
Well, it's only going to hurt the lowest in our society and the lowest in public schools and those with the most disabilities and those children that struggle or have the least amount of financial income coming in from their parents. Maybe they don't have health care. I happen to live in a military town, so of course I do have a predominantly higher level of students because many parents have an income and they have a health care system. But the problem with this is we are so underfunded. Every single year, at the end of the year, our principal sends us out like how much we're budgeted for, teachers, TAs, and that's a guess based on what they send us. So they're saying, hey, we're going to have this many students. We need this many TAs. We need this many school psychologists, and that number just keeps dwindling. And the problem with it is we're literally being told you got to figure it out. Be a better mental health counselor, be better at this, but we're going to keep taking this pile from you. And then what happens is you've got a beginning of the school year where there's no kindergarten teacher because it's not in the budget yet. And so then we have to wait. Okay, once all the other kindergarten classes have 22 plus, okay, now we have to hire. So then there's someone coming in new, and it creates chaos.
Yeah.
Public schools should just be funded. There's no other way around it. And all they're doing is, and I know lots of people who are benefiting from the vouchers, and I don't want to shame them for it because it's something out there for them to utilize. And that's not wrong. The problem is it's draining our coffers.
Yeah. So 22 is the number limit for you guys?
K to 3 right now is up to 20 max, but there is legislation right now per the Republican side that is discussing removing those maxes because we have such a huge teacher shortage. So many teachers are leaving the profession that they just don't have bodies to fill. And so they're reducing certifications. And I'm not saying you have to have a certification to be a great teacher. Sometimes the greatest teachers come out of the woodwork. Sure. But they're reducing these things because they don't have the money for it. And kids are going to be jammed into a room, and the idea of working with a kid one-on-one will be a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Because you'll be managing the other 27.
Yeah. So what grade do you usually teach?
I've predominantly taught third grade, which is the first testing grade for North Carolina.
Okay.
And so I see, like, it's like being a part of something, you want to make better, but you also feel like you got to work from the inside out to
Yeah.
do what you want to do. And so I'm kind of in a conundrum where I can see what everybody's saying. There's lots of problems in the public school system, but the biggest problem is just money. I mean,
Um, do you see Linda McMahon helping your Sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face. I tried
oh God, it's
so
just
hard.
it's so hard to understand why we are not. If I want an eye doctor, I'm gonna hire an eye doctor. I'm not gonna come and ask my neighbor to check and see how I'm doing. Like, we need professionals that are working in this field, that have their kids have gone to public school. They are actively invested in their community, that should be running everything. I mean, without that, they have
You
no
don't
reality.
You're trying to tell me that the former CEO of the WWE is not trained in any way to oversee our education system? I am shocked.
Shooketh, just
I
really
know.
shook. And then
So,
well, let's not forget to talk about the coverage of all of the things that happened in the WWE with some of the young
well,
boys. That
yeah.
was a cover up as well, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. She's got $1 billion, and
Yeah.
that's all that this administration seems to care about. Does Where does A1 come into your class? I mean, sorry, I mean AI. Where
I was
does
like, steak sauce?
Well, that's what Linda McMahon said, right? When she was describing it, that
I I am not opposed to AI. As someone who sees that there's a lot of good that can come from it, but with anything, a lot of bad can
mm,
also come from it. And I think on some level we've been focusing for so long on differentiating instruction, but that is wildly difficult for one adult in the front of the room with 25
for
kids
sure.
to differentiate on the levels that they need. And so I don't want to remove the public interaction of a classroom, but that doesn't mean we couldn't incorporate it in a way that is meeting some of those needs of those lower and those higher students. So,
Yeah. I mean, so, I remember, as someone who grew up, who started school before internet existed,
mhm.
I remember the outcry of the internet becoming a thing in schools, computers becoming a thing in schools, uh, calculators becoming like scientific
Yeah.
calculators. Like, you weren't allowed to bring your scientific calculator, because if you use that, then you're not using your head, you're using the calculator.
Most of us were just playing the game on it
Well,
anyway.
yeah, that's true. That's true. It's very true. But and that's and I've as having had a kid who has gone all the way through, just graduated high school. I've
Congrats.
Thank you.
Mhm.
She's way smarter than I ever was. And this goes to something else. This is the issue that I've had with education. I've got massive problems with our current education
I do
system.
too. I
Like,
really do too.
so much serious problems.
Yeah.
Math and science were always my thing. English, I absolutely hated.
That's
Hated
also,
it.
I think, because society has told boys they're not as good at that as well, which is sad because I think a lot are.
Fair, but
Mhm.
it was more than that, because it's not like I didn't try. Like, I
Right.
loved the idea of reading. My brain would just, it still does. I love listening to books, but
Yeah.
audiobooks didn't exist back then. But now I love listening to audiobooks because my brain can process. I'm way more auditory than I am visual when it comes to that
I
kind of
get it.
stuff.
And that's differentiated. You differentiated your reading and you use technology in order to do it, which kind of makes my point that I think that there's going to have to be parameters set, which means there's going to be boundaries that are wildly crossed to
Yeah.
be able to pull it back, but it's going to be beneficial, I think. So,
Yeah. But and just going back, that's the nice thing about this is why when people complain about AI, when people complain about Gen Z and Gen Alpha even,
right.
it's just, I'm like, when I was playing, people were complaining that we were allowed to play Oregon Trail during school when we should be like, these are the kind of, it's like this, it always drives me nuts, because I feel like, sure, do I think if we have if if some massive explosion happens and takes out all the technology in the world, will there be kids that will struggle because they don't know how to do certain things? Possibly. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but if you look at kids, let's say even third grade, if you look at what kids have to learn in third grade now compared to what I had to learn in third grade,
Yeah.
they're like, what they're learning in third grade is what I was like learning in high school. Like, it is
The
insane.
standards are so outrageous for what they are, and we did it to try and like puff up our chest as a country, and in reality we forgot that it's a new group of kids every year. They're not they're
Yeah.
different.
But even arguably, it's normal, because what you're talking about is, these kids have access to so much more than we did. They don't have to go to a library, search through a card catalog, and hope you can find the book that you're looking for and hope that it was the right one to teach you. You can now search online and just say, you have a question, you search it online, you find the answer to
Absolutely.
it, you move on. Like, there's so much more information in these kids' head. Now, is it all important information? No, but I can recite all of Star Wars practically, and that's not valuable either.
You never know. It's a trivia question.
Maybe if I decide to join it. But in
Yeah.
general,
Yeah, no,
there's
I know what you
me
mean.
knowing everything that Darth Vader said when he was confronting Luke Skywalker is not going to help but those are the kind of things that I learned growing up along with
Yeah.
the other stuff. It's just different.
It
And
is, and it doesn't matter. We're a different generation, and there's always a generational like, I had to do it this way, and they get to do it this way, but they're gonna do the same thing to the generation after them. And I mean, if with climate change, if we continue on this planet,
if we
that's a whole
survive,
nother climate. But I don't know. I find that there's a lot of good. My daughters have learned how to crochet watching these videos. So they know more about my middle daughter knows more about sewing than I do because she watches YouTube. I've learned how to fix a garbage disposal. So it's
yeah.
got its catch that maybe we're not the problem is we're losing human interaction between the
Mm,
two things. No one's teaching me. I'm watching. There's not a human connection that's happening. And so that is going to be a struggle for humanity, I
for
think.
sure. And I
Yeah.
think, we both do political content as well as, you do education, I do religion. But, I think the problem that we're dealing with is once you get out of school, third spaces don't really exist anymore. And the only
Mm-mm.
place that you really find that human interaction is online. I mean, I'm lucky that I am personally I have friends who are in the church that I happen to go to, who are very progressive in how they see the world. We all believe in separation of church and state, all of the important things that keep me being willing to go in the first place, because if they
Hmm.
didn't, I wouldn't.
Right.
But past that, the only place that I find people that are even that have any interests, like, I don't go out and find friends who play ultimate frisbee anymore because there's no parks to go do that. I don't.
They've defunded everything.
Yeah, or the things that are out there, you have to spend an abhorrent amount of money to be a
Being a
part
mom with
of.
3 kids to keep them occupied during the summer is expensive, and
Yeah,
it becomes very, I mean, and on top of it being ridiculously hot, you don't want to do much outside. But yeah, I get it. We're not finding each other in spaces, but I don't know if that's necessarily like wrong. The spaces we've always found each other have always changed.
yeah. And
You
so
know,
here's the question that comes from it. Is it, and it goes even to the education thing. Do we need, it goes to a lot of things, I feel like, in this country. I feel like the internet age changed the society so dramatically that the people in charge, the people that are Gen X boomers, the ones who are making a majority of the decisions, they don't know how to change the way they view things in order to interact with the current generation. So the idea being
100%.
like, third spaces. So like when it comes to education, either I used to work for a higher ed school, and my biggest thing that I always told the professors was, because we were starting to push like online education, and they'd always say how, it doesn't, this, I feel like we're missing these interactions. I like being face to face. And I go, I get it, but that's not the world we live in. So what you need to do is take everything and throw it away and start from scratch when you build what you do, because if you
we're
try
never
and
going to be
take,
able to do that, because
if you tried to take a one-on-one, if I tried to take what we're doing here, but I designed it as a one-on-one and then set it up that we're doing it online, it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't feel the same. You have to go into things understanding that things are different, and you have to build it from scratch. I think that's where we failed in COVID, was because no one had considered how to do online education. They just threw something together.
Well,
They
it was
said,
never
okay,
a thought, because we don't in America, we have a tendency to not prepare. We just pay back later. We fix mistakes after they happen. Even though, like, a lot of, for me, even as a mom, as simple as you anticipate what's going to happen, or in a classroom, I know who's going to ask that question. I know who's going to do that, and you're constantly anticipating it. Well, in America, we don't want to spend the money that it will cost to invest to anticipate these future problems.
Yeah.
And so instead, we're left paying lawsuits or fixing water in certain communities, and then because of that, we're behind. And so that's why he's saying so often how ahead we are in AI. I'm sorry. Like, there's a reason if he says it enough, people will believe it, and we're not. We let ourselves get behind because all the money for the funding for all of those things that we used to grow up enjoying is no longer there. And it's made it so we have no choice but to build community on the internet, because we don't have other places to be.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Well, I mean, and it's not, and that's the thing. So like I was streaming forever. Like I've been a live streamer before TikTok. I was on Twitch, and I have friends from around the world, people that I've talked to regularly, that we have conversations about, they know as much about my kid and my family as the people that I've known that live. They probably know more about me and my family than my next door neighbors do. And
yeah, I'm sure.
I've had some of these neighbors for a long time. So it's really, I just feel like when does it have to break completely before we change everything?
Yeah.
But
and that's what I know. I keep listening to John Oliver and Colbert and all these people, because I'm a person that, like, I'd rather laugh through it than I want to, like, make a joke about it.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't feel like there's another way, because everything that's going on has been legally happening. None of it has been. Even the things that can be kind of, and so I mean, I hate to say that, but I think it's going to have to. I mean, the public school system is going to have to completely become only for the super poor before anybody realizes it. And I hate that, but we can't seem to get through to some people who are about to be hit with some of these things soon, and they still can't see it. It doesn't matter until it hits your town, or it hits you, or it hits your home. And fortunately, we're all it makes me think of, when you talk about all the things we grew up in, it makes me think of how many conversations I've had about how public sports and things like that is going under. And I'm like, no, they took everything that we benefited as a society from, and they found a way to make money off of it, which led to it being only for people with money.
Yeah. And even a step farther, I mean, we were talking before we went live about, I spent 2 weeks working for a friend of mine who's got a performance studio we did a musical, and I ran part of it. And I was just sitting there watching it happen, and I was sitting there going, we never, like, at my daughter's school, they had to raise money to be able to do performances outside of the already. And I'm just like, if poor schools are not going to have theater,
nothing
at all, they're not going to have music, they're not going to have anything that has become extracurricular, unless
I
it
think
makes them money
eventually
somehow.
they won't have recess or lunches. They'll go home. The days will be shorter. I mean, truthfully, I think eventually AI is probably going to take over education. I'm not dumb enough to think that that's my job is not like my job is not a forever job anymore. But they're not going to want to, and it will be one more way they say they don't have to take care of people, and that's the goal. The less people on their bill, that's what they want. And it's so clearly obvious that it's so frustrating because people complain with me about it that would then go and vote, and I'm like, ah,
Yeah.
we're so
Yeah.
close. Yeah, it's depressing because I work in the public schools. I work with public sports. So all of those things that I remember growing up and were like big deals. Like it was a big deal to play the rec league or play these things or be a part of your public schools like fall festival. And they don't do it anymore because there's no money anywhere for anything.
There's plenty of money if you want
Well,
to.
yeah, it's
If
just
you
not in
want
that
to.
basket.
I mean, they gave $30 billion to Elon Musk to get him to stay at Tesla just a couple days ago. So
Oh, I haven't been following him. Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
the
He
400
paid
billion or
himself.
whatever he's got is, yeah, it's just
It's just it's so frustrating. I just like there's so many things that I could bounce on, especially I mean I could stay on education for hours, but it's just so much bigger than it goes
sure.
further up every time and it's just so simple and I think that's what people are missing is that it is too simple. Like it's too obvious. It's too clear that all the things that we've taken like our parents in the 80s were like took for granted that we would always have like I'm not able to give my kid.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's like I remember when I graduated, like I stuck around the house for a few more years after because I just had no reason. But there was never a question that if I wanted to move out, I
Hmm.
could, and I could
Right.
afford to do it.
I moved out right after college.
It's my my kid. No, like, I mean, yeah,
How?
she'll talk about she'll talk about it, but in the end, she knows that like that the chances are very slim unless she gets like 5 roommates.
It's insane. My mortgage is less than most people I know's rent, and I still hear people like in my neighborhood complain about renters, and I'm like, they're spending 3 times the amount you are. If you own that home, they're spending way more than you on their rent. I remember I got out of college. I went to college in Ohio at Ohio University, and I moved to Myrtle Beach. Got a job as a kindergarten teacher right away. And my first apartment, I had a roommate, but it was only like I think I paid $400. That was my share,
Yeah,
me and my roommate.
yeah.
So, and that probably I think that covered like water and something else as
I think
well.
my first apartment was like 750, and that wasn't an expensive. Like I grew up in
That was
Massachusetts.
nice.
I grew up in the expensive area of Massachusetts, and I mean it was technically a 1 bedroom apartment, but it wasn't a nice 1 bedroom apartment. So
Right.
seven. That's why I'm like 750. Go for it. But now that
No.
would probably cost $2,000 easy.
I have a friend right now that I just spoke with yesterday. Her son is turning at 26, they can stay on insurance, but it's 23 for dental and vision, apparently, maybe with TRICARE or something. So he turns that today. And so today they're at the dentist getting whatever he needs done because they know that he's not going to be covered until he's done with
Yeah,
school.
that's insane.
It's
So
insane.
I in one of your recent videos, you were talking about how you were getting prepared for school, and well, for those of you that were watching the election coverage beforehand, you saw Trump use the idea of or talk about how when kids go to school, they come back the next day, or they're just gone for 3 or 4 days, and magically, Michael is now Michelle, or the other way around. So I noticed in your most recent video you were cleaning rugs in preparation for that. Do you feel fully prepared to transition all of the kids in your classroom?
I the schedule's going to be tight. It's, it's going to be tough to get it all in. But I'm hoping by Christmas we're going to knock them all out because can you believe the people in the comment? I know majority of people have seen it now, but like I watched it live. So I know like it's not even one of those I heard it. I watched it live. And those people that are like, that's not what he meant. I'm like, what else does it mean when you say I'm keeping your kid for 2 or 3 days and then returning them to you? What does that mean?
The
What?
videos that came from that comment were glorious, by
Oh
the
my
way.
God. The
They
teachers are like, we can't give our student a band-aid. What are you talking?
yeah.
What are
Yeah, that's the insane thing to me is like I remember like having to bring like my daughter could not bring aspirin to school with her.
Oh,
If
she
she
had to sneak
needed
it.
it, she had to call me and I had to come to school with it and she had to
Yeah.
take it right then. She wasn't
Like you
allowed to
had to open
leave.
it.
Yeah,
I tried,
I brought it in a
I don't give
baggie.
my
I'm like,
students,
here, like during, and women know, during then, I had to bring it in
oh,
so she could survive the rest of school.
it's so frustrating because I genuinely couldn't give a student a cough drop last year. His mom did not want to come get him because he wasn't ill. He just had the lingering effects of like allergies after a while.
Yeah.
And I knew he felt fine, but he was coughing. I was like, I can't give him one. But and she's like, it's fine. I'm like, no, I can't because if someone found out, like it's just it's insane. And I know, okay, so then their next response is, well, they're talking about it. No, we're not. We're not talking about it either. Now, if a kid goes to a counselor in high school and talks about it, that is patient privilege. Like, first of all, like when did we?
Is it still patient privilege in North Carolina?
No,
They're kind of
no,
weird now.
no, it's not. It's not. This parent handbook. But I to those I just say if you didn't know, then you're not a good parent. If you had to be told by someone else, then you're not paying attention. Wake up. We probably told you you weren't paying attention years ago when your kid was in elementary school, but you weren't paying attention, so you didn't hear it. Yeah, it's mind-boggling to think that it's just another way of an authoritarian government, though. I mean, like I've said, I'm a huge World War II nerd, and it is just one of the things that they always do. They demonize those who want to educate people as well as the highly educated, which I don't consider myself highly educated, but I listen to those who are because I think it's important that we listen to people who specialize in their field.
And it's not even educated in the way people think. I mean, yes, like sure, education, like just going to school, learning about things can help, but even more than that, the
Hmm.
reason education helps, the reason it's not educated is its breadth of experience. I mean, when I grew up, I didn't know
Interest,
I didn't know
curiosity.
yeah, well, when I grew up, I didn't know anyone in the LGBTQIA community. My
Me neither.
bubble was as white and as
Hmm.
Christian as you could
Hmm.
possibly get. Never, I mean, it's possible I knew one who was in the
But you didn't
closet.
know.
Yeah,
You
but
didn't know.
no one was out
No.
as being part of that community. I knew one black person. One. I was
Yeah.
friends with them, but that was the only one I'd ever known.
Your
So
experience was wildly limited, like
when I
mine.
went to college, the internet, and that again, this is where like the internet blew things up. The internet has given these kids access to varieties of
Mm.
people, varieties of places, varieties of experiences, varieties of
It's given me.
perspectives.
I was conservative Christian until literally like 4 years ago. So I am it can open your eyes when, because most of the people you know that are the most small-minded just haven't left town. They just haven't, and
And
it's
it's
not their
scary how many
fault.
haven't.
Right. It's not their fault. It's probably financial, it's probably trauma, it's probably lots of reasons, or just their job, whatever. The problem with it is that the internet can give you that. So at this point, if you're not seeking it, you are being willfully ignorant.
Yeah. Well,
And that's my bigger problem.
it makes them uncomfortable. Let's be honest.
I had
It
a
makes they
Yeah.
don't like being uncomfortable.
To
So
question their viewpoints is very difficult because I understand that so fully because My older sister has always been very liberal, and so there was the rift in the family, and I was kind of a middleman. And I remember feeling like she was being condescending and she knows everything. But now that I'm in that viewpoint, I realize it's not at all that. It's just that we're like, hey, just turn it a little bit and look at it a little bit different, and you'll realize that we're actually on the same side on so many things.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
frustrating.
it goes back to even, I mean, I remember growing up being told as I got older, I'd become more conservative. And
Same.
but no one who is older than me, so I'm just on the cusp of Gen X millennial, like I'm that Xennial grouping.
Okay.
Anyone older than me doesn't understand why anyone my age and younger aren't coming out, that aren't becoming more conservative. And what they're not understanding is,
You're in the South though too.
but I wasn't.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
I was in his
That's true.
yeah.
I was
So
like, here, I feel like everyone expects me to be a conservative, but
well, yeah. I mean, where I am now, they don't expect that either. But um, when they're not getting that, the reason that people younger than me are becoming more liberal in general, not always, but I actually find like it's causing problems that a lot of young people voted for Trump because they listened to people like Adam Tate or whatever Tate and
Theo Vaughn
Charlie
and
Kirk and all those
Candace
other people.
Owens, who is now backtracking, which, hello, like,
Shocker.
right.
Call me so shocked. The reason you're seeing a lot of them starting more conservative and going more liberal is people older than me don't see how the internet has changed everything. They don't even see how society has changed because it didn't affect them. So
Mhm.
I'm lucky enough to have a house. We came in at the right time, like lucky. Like there is no way we could afford a house anymore. Not
Yeah,
even a chance.
gotcha.
So people that own a house look at these kids and they go, well, they just need to work harder.
Mhm. Yep.
Because when I was growing up, it was you could afford rent
They could.
on one job. And if you wanted a house, you did get a second job. You got a second side, whatever, and it got you a little extra money. You started putting in savings. You could get a down payment and everything was fine. They don't
I was
see.
raised, I had a little bit more of a silver spoon. I wasn't top 1% by any means, but we were pretty wealthy Catholic white suburbans. So, yeah.
But they don't see that that's not, they don't see that it doesn't matter how hard some of these people work.
No.
Again, unless you grow up in a silver spoon, like if you grow up, they don't even
Even
understand that.
even then, the propaganda is so
True.
thick.
Understand, but but it's not even like they don't understand. No, none of us understand. Neither you or I understand. Well, you probably as a teacher potentially understand it more, but none of us understand what it's like to go to school knowing that there could be a shooting at any moment.
Yeah.
None of us
Yeah.
none of us understand what it's like to know that that once they get out of school, there's a chance that they won't find a job. What is it now? 60%? It's a 60% of people getting out of college aren't able to find a job.
Well, and then don't even start on the jobs market stuff. Oh my gosh.
That's
Yeah, and
why
it's not going to get
doing
better.
that's
I
why I'm
mean,
doing this
yeah.
is I can throw my name in as many hats as I want.
Yeah. No, it's pretty unbearable for people, and I have a feeling I'm gonna have my kids in my home for much longer than I would have stayed. And honestly, the thought of telling them when I grew up, it was you're 18, you're going to college was the next step. You're moving out, then you go live on your own, very traditional. And I did all that because I think I was probably part of one of the last generations, but I also had a lot of privilege. I had parents that paid for my college education. I had vehicles that were bought for me. I wasn't paying bills and going to college. I could just focus on college. And so my kids aren't going to have that. They're just not. The only reason they may have some benefits is due to the VA, but it's frustrating because there is such a gap, and they voted for so long to keep these term limits forever that they never had to filter anyone new in who's experiencing a kid going to college. These people have watched their grandkids go to college and get married, a lot of them. And so they have no basis in reality more, and that's not a bad thing. It's just the way it goes. The young need to take back over. And if we would have years ago, we would not be in this bad of a position, I don't think.
Yeah. And the internet, I think, made it worse because we went from,
Probably.
well, it's just, not only has the internet changed the way people see the world, learn about the world, learn about each other. It's turned the internet age helped create computers, which now created AI.
Yeah, it's the technological revolution.
It is a technological revolution that has the potential of being even greater than the first technological revolution when computers became a thing and the internet grew. And we are in a societal shift. Massive.
We have been, for sure.
And that's the thing. This is why I've said this on multiple other episodes, and the shift happened. We have shifted, obviously we're not
When
there
do you
yet.
think it was? I'm going to say like COVID was like around the time between 16 and COVID, like that was like a big like.
I think the internet was the start of it.
Okay.
I think it had a massive, I think COVID.
Could we go back to September? 2001 maybe, but.
Maybe. I think the 2008 crisis, I think COVID, I think the last two crises opened a lot of doors for people. But
Okay.
it just since the internet changed the way millennials especially and Gen Z, Gen Alpha see the world differently. There's a lot of conservatives like to complain about how many more members of the LGBTQIA community exist now than did before. Here's the thing. They didn't exist. They don't exist more now.
They existed then. They just didn't have a group.
Well, yeah, it just wasn't accepted. A lot of people literally live their entire life never being who they were, never coming out as being part of that community.
It was not an option or a thought in my home growing up. It wasn't talked about, but it definitely wasn't talked about.
It's the same idea that likes to get brought up about left-handed people. It used to be when you were left-handed, you were considered demonic. Where once it became considered acceptable, all of a sudden there was a massive increase in people that were left-handed. And it's like, it's not being like anyone magically said, I'm right-handed.
It was always happening. You demonized it. When you demonize something, you make people hide. It's the same thing with autism right now. People, the autism rates are growing. No, and I heard someone the other day say autism just started. And I'm like, let's go back to World War II because there was a German doctor, and I can tell you all about him. His name was Asperger, and he's the one who recognized it. And their problem was that they didn't conform to military order the way regular neurotypical people did. And so it's not new. It's just people are just so undereducated, and they have no curiosity for things.
It's more complicated. Life is drastically more complicated. And as you get older, your brain starts not being able to process everything that's going on. So you sit here and you think about when life was simpler, and you go, I don't understand how this works. And because I don't understand it, I don't believe it. So what happens is someone like Trump or the GOP come in and say, this is just fake. What's really happening is X, Y, and Z. Well, X, Y, and Z makes sense to me. So because of that's got to be what's true.
Okay, we can say that, but doesn't it a lot of it doesn't, though. Like, I could say that maybe 10 years ago, pre-Trump, pre all these crazy, ridiculous lies. But these are so outlandish. That's my bigger issue, is that it's not just like, oh, well, the jobs was off a little bit. Like he said, we're operating on kids. That's, you know what I mean? Like these are such extreme things that why I don't
Yeah.
understand how people like my parents believe it. I really don't. I don't
So
get it.
here's my thing when it comes to the LGBTQIA community, specifically the transgender community, trans men and women. I think the problem, especially with conservative evangelicals, when it comes to the transgender community, the reason that they are unwilling to accept that trans women and men exist. So the reason they are unwilling, if they accept, if they don't fight back for if they don't fight hard that there's only two genders, if they don't fight it.
They won't have power if there's not just two. If they can't put someone in a box, they don't have power over that person.
Yeah, and I would say
It's
even
the
more than that
patriarchy.
though. It's they don't, if they're required to, if them as Christians are required to accept the fact that transgender people exist and it's okay, then everything they have been taught for the last 50, 60, 70 years of their life, what else could be wrong?
Yeah. Oh God, that is a wall that people put a blockade for sure. I get that. But I also I sympathize, and you sound like me. I tell my sister these things. I'm that person for my sister. I'm like, well, this, but then there's the other part that just says you, you're choosing not to. Like I could Google it. Like
Sure.
things that and then we have the internet. Like you're making a choice. The problem is that they see them as less than, and unfortunately,
They don't
until they
understand.
don't,
It
that's
makes
the
no
problem.
sense to them. It makes no sense to them.
And they never figured that religion makes no sense to people. Like that's
Oh
what's
no,
so
because religion makes sense to them.
I know, and that's what's so frustrating about religious people is they're so not all, and I know that I'm not going to preface with all,
No, you're
is that
good.
they
I'm
often
very much
forget.
it's all Christians until it's not, and I am one. So
Well, it's not. It's just step away from your ideal for just a second and say, my ideal is not mine anymore. It's just role playing. Like you can, if you've read books, you've had to role play. And I think we got away from that so much in school, in education, to be honest with you, is that we stopped allowing people to practice what it would be like. And that, because that's what builds empathy. And then you stop judging. But these people genuinely think the trans community are mentally unstable. Like they don't just like not acknowledge, they think that there's something wrong with them. And how do
but
you
again,
train that
they
out?
they have to. They
Yeah,
have to. If
yeah.
they don't say that the transgender community is mentally ill, then that requires them to accept that their existence is part
Hmm.
of God's plan
It
even.
crumbles. Their entire world crumbles.
It has the potential to, if
Hmm.
as long as they are willing to stay within that fundamentalist
And they're not
rigid
wrong.
doctrine. Again, as a Christian, I'm sitting here telling everyone who's listening, transgender people exist. It's okay. God created them. I personally believe that, regardless of whether anyone does. I am never tell anyone I would never tell anyone that
I
their
just don't think,
experiences.
even if you don't, like, even if you do believe, like, it's just not my business. It's just
Exactly.
not my business. At the end of the
Exactly.
day, what your business is your business. And as long as you're not hurting kids or hurting someone else, then it's not my business. And I wish that, and people wrap it up and whatever God they worship and whatnot, and that's fine. However you want to package it is up to you. The problem with it is that just package it. Because at the end of the day, if you believe in freedom, then you cannot support any tyranny on any level, even as small as in the classroom. Like
Yeah.
it's all, you have to be pro-choice on everything in life to truly say you love freedom. There's just no way around it. And they're not willing to look at it. I had a conversation with a friend who left me, like I posted the other day, because she's still more religious and she thought our morals weren't lining up. And this fits very, and I just keep asking which ones, which are the morals? and no one will answer me. And I just can't, because I know at the end of the day, eventually it will lead them to, oh, I can't treat people like that. No, can't. It,
Yeah.
just
No.
empathy, role play, pretend you're someone else and just imagine what it's like. And then you don't have this problem. You don't have to worry about it anymore. The
The
religious right is a huge problem.
the
I
the
mean,
thing that I keep pushing is I am a cisgender, straight, white male.
and that's okay. We don't have to all hate them. We don't.
This what I- as all of that, I will never understand what it's like to live in this world as a woman. I will never understand what it's like to live in this world as a black, brown, or indigenous person of color. I will never
Sure.
understand what it's like to live in this world as a member of the LGBTQIA community. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's just a fact.
Right. There's
am
no emotion to it.
I am attracted to women. It just I have my entire life, which means, and I
And it's no one's
don't.
business.
I have never felt what it's like to feel like I'm in the wrong body. Never felt
Right.
it, which means I will never. I will hear my community who are transgender person, and I will listen to them. But I know I will never fully understand. But what I will do is accept
Right.
what they say as valid.
Right. Because their feelings about it are valid. I don't get to tell them, well, you feel this way because I would never, and it's as simple as you would never want anyone to tell you how you feel about anything because it invalidates your entire brain and your entire thought process. And so it's really as simple as that. And that's what's so frustrating, I think, is that it's literally freedom and they don't realize that it is. And then it leads, it's just such a slippery slope.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little less that they don't, not that they don't realize it. It's that they just don't want to accept it. Because again, acceptance requires
Valid.
changing their entire worldview on things.
I wish I could, though. There's a lot that I feel like.
The most frustrating thing about me is how much is being an empath and feeling everyone else's pain to an extent that just is, it can be exhausting.
Well, and people, right, or just being able to say, I can imagine that would be awful.
Yeah.
Like, oh gosh, I bet that does. Even if you're not sitting there crying or being, you can sit there and say, that would really suck if that happened to me. So I feel bad for you. And it's so basic.
And we should try and figure out a way to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, well, you should probably fix yourself so that doesn't happen to you anymore. And
yeah, the problem is, what were you wearing?
What were you doing? What did you say?
What did you say that caused them to think that they could force themselves upon you?
It's just the same argument for everything. We want to blame the people because they're not doing, it's their fault. Instead of accepting that as a society, we can just welcome people in. It's okay. And I am not, as a teacher, indoctrinating your students to be anything that they're not. But I am encouraging them to be who they are. So.
Yeah. So one thing I want to make sure that we talk about that you had mentioned has to do with the VA. So if you want to talk about that real quick, that would be great.
I'd love to. Biden in 2022 passed in the VA, they have finally allowed abortion access, reproductive care in the situation of assault or incest. And of course, in the situation of the mother's life. And that is staying. Problem is, they've now proposed to reverse all of those movements forward, which were minimal for 2022, to be honest with you.
Sure.
But we've only had that option for 3 years. Apparently, it's about 100 women per year. So it's not like what people like to think that women are using it as birth control. They're not. These are real women in real situations. And these are women who have served our country as well as their children. So any situation of assault and incest will now, based on this proposed new rule, not be covered. And you have until September 3rd to submit and post a response basically saying that this is outrageous These women in the military, these children that are military members that use the VA should have access to health care no matter whether they get it from the VA or if they don't. It's horrifying for women in the military, and it's going to do nothing but drive women away from the military because if people can assault them and they don't get health care because of that situation, why would you serve?
Yeah. And we'll put a link to that in the
Thank you.
description below.
Please comment.
Yes. I mean, and let's be fair. They've been doing everything they can, I think, to make it so women and don't want to be in the military anyways since November or since January 20th.
No, yeah, Hegseth has made it clear that women are not, or only if he likes their role is he okay with it. And what's so frustrating is some of the greatest warriors in our history, in written history, were women-led warrior groups. And that's a different conversation, but it's frustrating. But specifically for people like my daughters who we have privatized insurance as well as a portion of the VA, to think that they might not get covered, or that they would be able to, that they would have to tell someone in the government why they're making a decision for their body is so much government overreach. I don't understand why anyone would want that.
It always has boggled my mind how people that scream for small government so much then come in and push for the government to regulate. Like, they take away regulations from so many things and then do the complete opposite in somewhere else.
The hypocrisy is astounding. And honestly, we all can look at ourselves and see hypocrisy. I'm not going to pretend that that people are perfect, but when you don't recognize it and you then say you want something and you vote against it, like it just shows an ignorance, and it's not okay anymore to be ignorant. It's just not.
Yeah.
People have to get their head in the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the hardest thing for me, and especially on the religious side of things. I have a lot of friends who are good people who would never support this current administration, any of that.
Just people, just good people.
And yet they also are very much I stay out of politics because it's so divisive mentality. And that's goes beyond just the religious. I mean, again, I used to stream on Twitch, and I've seen a lot of people that I know or have followed forever that are like, I don't think politics should be on this platform. And I just want to sit here and go, my brain just went, that is the most privileged statement that anyone can. Don't get me wrong. I get it. 100%. No, but there are days that
they don't get to say that, though, because everything is politics.
Exactly.
Once I saw that.
But I'm saying it in the sense of, I understand there are days that I wake up and I'm like, I don't ever want to make another political video. I want to go back to playing video games and singing music on the internet and just having fun. I want to go back to that. But it's like, I'm like, how, when your eyes are finally open to the marginalized communities and all of the suffering that they're actually going through, how after seeing what, women are going through, how can you just sit there and go, I don't want to bring politics back into my life because it's just too divisive. And I'm just like, tens of millions of people are suffering because of politics.
Yeah.
And
there are people in camps because people are refusing to enter politics. It's not an option. And honestly, I don't think it ever was. I think our parents' generation was taught to be quiet, and then we were taught to be quiet. And there was reason that propaganda was floated around, and it stuck with us. So now don't talk about politics and church at the table, when in reality, that's all we should have ever been talking about, is how our community is going to thrive or fall. And avoiding it at this point is complacency, and I can't be complacent.
Yeah. I mean, I will still always tell people, and I say this to everyone who's listening or watching, always find time to get some joy in your life, because
Yeah, for sure.
the next the next decade or two are
Mm.
probably going to suck
Hmm.
a
Yeah,
lot.
I don't foresee.
People are going to suffer. It's just
And it's
going
going
to
to be
happen.
because of us. And they're going to write books of documentaries about us, and they're going to be movies about us. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, it's not going to matter that I didn't vote for him. I'm still going to be one of the Americans that showed up. I've listened to enough documentaries to know that they don't point out those people that said, well, so speaking up right now, even if you just talk to someone, you don't have to make politics your existence, but you do need to understand that politics is our existence, and
Mm-hmm.
ignoring it is saying that you don't want any control over your life. And that to me, once I saw it like that, I couldn't unsee it
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So
It's
you're doing a good
never,
thing, though. I appreciate what you're doing out there too.
well,
Really, it's good, and it's speaking to people. And if it makes someone ask like one more question, because that's what led me to this conversation today, is someone saying one, well, why? And it eventually leads down a very different
yeah.
road.
Well, we are trying to form a coalition here. A coalition of people that, while we don't agree on everything, we do agree on fundamentals. One of the
On
hardest part.
humans.
Yeah, well, that's it. Our fundamentals here are that all people, no matter your race, religion, gender, or identity, deserve rights, respect, dignity, and safety.
And
And
them having more rights does not take away rights
no,
from me.
no.
Yeah.
And I think if we, as progressives or even center left people, can learn to work under that framework, I think we can really change the world. And again, do I personally, would I love to see us become a completely different kind of society, much more socialist in the sense of universal healthcare and free education and all these
We
other
can have
things?
capitalism and social structures.
I
Like we already
understand that.
do.
I'm just saying in the sense of, in my dream world,
Right.
in my
I'm with
dream
you.
world, none of us would have to make money. Literally, our entire goal would be to work for the betterment of society. Everyone would have a place to live. We would all have food. We would find out what people are good at and
Hmm.
enjoy, and let people do it
We live
because they
in
just enjoy
community
doing it.
with one another.
But again, I understand that that's we're not there. We're not even close to there. We may
No.
never be there, and that's fine. But if we want to actually progress as a society where humanity actually matters, even on the left, we need to learn how to work with people that we disagree with. That does not mean we need to give voice to people that have some of the worst views of all possible.
It's a hard line.
It
It's
is.
a sticky area because the views of the Republicans to me aren't necessarily, well, current Republicans, not them. But being Republican doesn't necessarily equate all bad. And to say that, but where they've gone with it is going in the wrong direction. So it's really difficult at this point to be someone who would consider herself more of a liberal to even want to fathom some of the ideas because they're just not for humans. So how do you navigate that? And maybe you can give me some tips on that.
Wanting to be financially wanting to be good with money, wanting to not waste money is not a bad ideal.
No.
It's not a bad ideal at all. It's what you do with that ideal that turns something that's a good ideal into something that's bad. And in the end, that is why the division feels so massive, why the gap feels so strong, is because our fundamentals, that basis that we all begin, we are no
Mm-hmm.
longer at the same place anymore. Until we can get back to the same place, until we can get back to the place where
The same
people
solar
are
system.
people, no matter what, we're going to continue to struggle.
The only times in history where we haven't is when those people come together. I mean,
Yeah.
we have enough movies about this where people come together and finally create a society. And unfortunately, we're just at what I'm hoping is the beginning of a new society and structure that can be more beneficial for everyone. And I do think it will get there. I worry about in the meantime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think Great Depression to New Deal. I think that's
Mm.
where we have some good possibilities.
I'm thinking 1930s Germany to
Well,
1945,
I mean,
but I don't
Germany
know.
came out good from that too. So,
Yeah.
Lindsay, thanks for hanging out with me. This has
It's been a
been
pleasure.
so amazing to talk with you. We'll have to get you back on again sometime. If
Thank
anyone's
you.
listening, just so you know, throw likes, throw follows. We do a lot here. We have a Substack, we've got TikTok, we've got the YouTube, we're on Apple, Spotify, we're all over the place. If you want to become part of this coalition, join. We have a Discord. We have all of this stuff where we really work through a lot of these hard problems. And again, for everyone who supports financially what we do here, again, I'm so grateful for everything that you guys do. You make it possible for me to get on here and keep talking about what's going on in the world. So thank you so much. Lindsay, want to let everyone know where they can find you?
I am really right now just on TikTok, Miss Mayday 1.0, Miss Mayday. I am on Instagram as well, but I post mainly on TikTok. But yeah, thanks a lot. Please stay informed, get into politics, even if it's just one topic, do something, get out in your community.
Yep. And again, make sure to get out and have some fun too. Do something that makes you happy, because we are going to be dealing with this for a while, and mental health is an important thing. So yes, talk about it. Yes, keep informed. Yes, don't let fascism win, but also do something that makes you smile. I know sometimes it makes you feel guilty because there are people around the world and in this country that don't get that kind of it doesn't feel like they can get that kind of freedom. But also, if you aren't all mentally there, you won't be able to fight for them as much as you need to. So make sure to take those breaks. Lindsay, again, thanks for hanging out with me. Everyone, again, hit the buttons, shoot some comments, make it possible to push this out to other people. And we will see you next time on a More Perfect Podcast. Bye, guys.